to the cloud. Okay, let's get started. So welcome to our last meeting of April. Go up here. All right, awesome. I'm super excited that everybody's here. We've got a short meeting and then we've got a workshop actually, and Dwayne rocks at this. So I invited him over, and Ryan's here as well. Welcome, both of you.
Hello.
Thank you very much for being here. And we're putting on a workshop. I've opened escrow now, because there's a lot of nuances. And sometimes, especially now with the new contract, I'm hearing, what do I need to do? We're going to cover that a little bit. We're going to cover the transaction timeline. We're going to just cover some points that I really want you and the management team here in the desert, we want you to be aware of. So we're going to be covering that. Quick shout out to our affiliates. I want to say thank you so much. I'm seeing legendary escrow commission instructions more and more and more. I know Stacy's doing a great job, so thank you very much for your support. Thank you for using Orange Coast Title. They have been jumping through hoops and moving mountains to get us what we need with our farms, so thank you for that. And Prosperity, oh my gosh, I'm seeing a lot of really good things coming from there. So kudos to all of you, and remember, every time you do a Prosperity app, that's points for the Cabo contest, so you don't want to forget about that either. Okay, so just a quick shout out, want to say congratulations. Our April listing goal is 37 listings. We are at 31. We have 1 week to do 6.
Yeah.
Come on, right? We got this. So how many of you are going to go out and get a listing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Come on, one more. 6. Yes, we got it. I'm going to hold you to that, you know. So congratulations to all of you. I know it's not easy out there to get these listings, and so I applaud your efforts in making things happen. Congratulations also to those of you who are in escrow. Our goal is to open 46 escrows. So far, we've opened 34. So we're pretty close. We can do this. We're right there. So I know you can. Congratulations to all of you who have listed and opened escrow, and let's get those things closed. If you need any help, of course, we're here. Please let me know too, if you have an agent on the other side, good or bad, just give me a quick text saying, hey, I just closed escrow with this agent. Very professional, or whatever your comments are, because I like reaching out and thanking them for cooperating with us on a transaction. And I really don't want to say, hey, Debbie said you were fantastic, and that agent say, oh my God, we fought the whole time. So no, I just, your input really helps me, and that I thank you for that as well. Okay, moving into a quick reminder, our listing contest. Don't forget to get me your point sheets. And remember, 5 points, you get a listing, and for every point, 5 points is 1 ticket, right? So you take a listing, that's 5 points. You submit a loan application to Prosperity, that's another 5 points. You get 5 bonus points for a listing taken and closed between April 1 and June 30th. So that's kind of fun. 5 points for using legendary escrow. 2 points for putting it coming soon into the VAC, and a point for each event, special prospecting event, activities, etc. It's listed on the point sheet, and if you don't have one, I think we have some at the front desk. I've won them up, so I'm going to make more copies for over by the copier machine, so you can keep track of them. But please get them to me weekly if you can, so I have to send them all to Diane Ray, and I'm sure the last thing she wants is to get 3,000 sheets of points on the last day of the month. So if you can just stream them into me, I'd like to get them over to her as soon as possible. So thank you so very much. Any questions on that? Are you excited?
Yeah.
Are you awake? Come on, guys. All right. Chalk Digital, as you know, has replaced AdWorks. Tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Chalk Digital is doing a training. We're going to have it on here in this office. Here is the Zoom link, and then I'll be sending a list of names of everybody who attended the Zoom, either via Zoom or here. So please let me know, because that you will get promotional stuff goodies for participating in the training. So I want to make sure you have it. But I'll send out the meeting handout later today. The Zoom meeting link is there as the meeting ID and the passcode. So don't forget to log in or just be here. We're going to have fun because this is at 11, from 11 to 12. And then at 12 o'clock, BPI Home Inspections is going to be here and bring food. And I know you like to eat. So be here 12 to 1 is the home inspection lunch and learn. So it's a double whammy. It'll be a fun day. Hope you all can be here for that. Mason, do you have anything to say? Nope, we're good. Maria?
Nope. Oh, if you haven't signed up for the lunch and learn, let me know. I currently have 13 people signed up. It's still open. I told her I would have the deadline by 12 today.
Awesome. Yeah, so if you can come, please make sure so you get some food. Okay, Imelda is going to be out of the office for probably 3 weeks. Taking some time off. So if you need any help with anything, call me, call Maria. We'll make sure you're well taken care of. Okay. All right. And yes, the printers are back up and working. Thank goodness. Dan, Dan drove out here yesterday just for the purpose of fixing the printers. And I told him he can't go home until they were done because we need these printers. And so at 6:15 last night, they were fixed. So yay. Good job, Dan. All right. Tuesday next, May 10th. Ryan, thank you so much. And Mason, thank you so much. We'll be doing a social media course workshop. And so what are you guys going to be talking about?
Oh, we're going to be talking about Facebook, Instagram, Google My Business page, everything you need to do.
Agent icon, we're going to touch base with, and then
Good. All the social media mediums, including Agent Icon. So you don't want to miss out on that. That is not next Tuesday, 2 weeks. Yes. May 10th, 9:30 here in this office. And then the following week, I'm super excited because Adam Nishikawa of Exchange Resources is doing his annual update on 1031 exchanges. So, 1031 exchanges right now are just huge. Everybody's doing them. And so that's going to be a very helpful class for you and your clients. So you don't want to miss out on that. And then just a couple final reminders. You will never get a text from me asking for gift cards or for anything else for that matter. So if you get a text from me saying, are you busy? I need your help. I'm in a meeting right now. Yeah, no, that's not me. There's a fraud link that you can just go in and report because they're impersonating me. That's fraud. Okay, so let's report it. Let's not take it lightly. There's a bunch of yahoos out there, and so just know that. And then, of course, anytime you want to spend, and you're welcome to walk into my office anytime. But if you need like 15 minutes, 30 minutes of time set aside, just hop on Calendly, schedule some time at your convenience, and I'm always here to help you. Lance, are you online still?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Sorry, I was muted.
Yeah, you were muted. Okay, so Lance is signed up. The city of La Quinta has their anniversary picnic going on. I think the mayor alluded to that last time she was here. Lance has got a table, and I think he is opening it up to anyone who wants to join him. Lance, you want to say something?
Yeah, well, it's like you said, anybody who wants to participate is welcome to come. If you have any promotional giveaways you want to give out, bring them with you. It's between 9 and 12 over at the Civic Center Park there at Tampico and Washington.
What day?
It's on Saturday the 30th.
Okay.
And I'll be there at 8 to set up if anybody wants to show up early. It's still not clear exactly where we enter and all that, but they're starting to, provide us with all that information. So I think if you just head over there to City Hall, you'll be able to figure out where to go. And
Lance, if you can just put your phone number in the chat, and if you don't have it, we'll text it to you as well. But if you have any questions or you're interested in joining, it's just going to be a really fun event for the city of La Quinta, and it's a great way to just be in front of people. Pass out some cards, have your laptop there, maybe look up some properties if people are interested, enter them into your CRM, that kind of stuff. So it's this Saturday. Thank you, Lance. I appreciate you spearheading that. If you have any questions, just reach out to Lance directly. Any other plugs, wants, or needs? from Zoom or here? Nope. Okay, then we are going. That was really cool how that did it. I don't even know how I did that, but I liked it. Okay, I just opened escrow. Now what? Ladies and gentlemen, Dwayne Carrier.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for your attention. So the purpose of this workshop, I rolled this out in Palm Springs and it was pretty well received. Sometimes we just need a little guidance on this. So you negotiated the terms of the contract. All parties have agreed to the terms. You have an accepted offer and you've opened escrow. Now what? Most people only experience the home buying process a few times in their life. Rather than leaving it to your client to guess what happens next, today we're going to discuss how to guide them.
I need you to mute yourself if you're talking here. Okay, I think we're good.
Rather than leaving it to your client to guess what happens next, today we're going to discuss how to guide them through the transaction and address their concerns along the way. The objectives for today: at the conclusion of this workshop, you should have a clear understanding of the following: what steps you should take after you open escrow, how to keep your buyers and sellers informed throughout the transaction, and how to guide your client through the sale or purchase process and address all their concerns. With digital signatures being prevalent today, it's generally effortless to provide copies of signed documents to our clients. During the offer process, we sometimes send documents back and forth multiple times before we have an agreement, and it can cause confusion later in the transaction when a client doesn't remember what they agreed to. After you open escrow and send your fully executed purchase agreement documents to your escrow officer and transaction coordinator, it's good practice to put a package together for your client as well. Of course, you can simply forward everything that was signed in one attachment or email, and that will suffice. However, our goal is to make sure the client truly understands the term of the agreement and has a way to reference it throughout the transaction. To aid with this, we recommend you putting together the following package and mailing it to the client for the reference throughout the transaction. The time you spend upfront can save you hours throughout the transaction when you keep your client well informed. So in the VAC is the buyer's guide. So when you've opened escrow, you've most likely gotten through the first part of getting to know you and informing them of information. However, this buyer's guide walks them through the entire process. So I like to provide this to my clients, especially when we've just opened escrow, just kind of give them a reminder. I believe in selling the experience, whether I'm working with a seller or working with a buyer. When I take a listing, talk to the seller, here's what's going to happen. We're going to put it in the MLS. We're going to have showings from this time. Offers will be submitted. We're going to open escrow. During escrow, there's going to be a bazillion pieces of paper that's coming your way. There's going to be inspections. We're going to disrupt your life. Literally selling the whole experience to them. I'm working with the buyer. We're going to look at 4,000 properties. You're going to write 40 offers, $100,000 to $500,000 over the list price. You're going to get rejected 15 times. I mean, I'm not really joking. That's kind of really happening right now. So if you don't sell the experience from beginning to end, remember, for a lot of people, this is a one and done scenario, or they haven't done it very often. So this is all foreign. And what's normal? So but by selling the experience, by just explaining to them everything that's going to happen along the way, when, not if, but when it happens, they're like, oh yeah, you said that this was going to happen. So it takes away that surprise element, that fear element, because there's going to be things that are going to come up. Every transaction is going to have an issue. And so when they're prepared for a lot of stuff, the 1, 2, 3 things they weren't prepared for, it's less shocking to the system. All right. So I want to start the process of, I just opened escrow. Now what? I want to remind everybody, I'm not going into the RPA with you. However, you're going to hear Ryan and Gina and Dwayne say to you when you ask us a question, what do we say?
What does your contract say?
What does your contract say? These are your escrow instructions. And so a lot of times I have a new crew in my office. I've hired several new agents. So we're going through this process and they're like, oh, I'm going to go open escrow. Here are your escrow instructions, guys. You've written them, you and your clients. And that's important for you to remember. Escrow, remember, they receive information, they process it, they don't make decisions, and they don't really do a lot as it relates to terms. That's between your clients, right? So please remember that in the back of your head. So you've got your RPA, you've got your terms, purchase price, escrow timeframes, deposit amounts, both players. And please pay attention to agency. I see it so often. It's so stressful. do the work, right? And then as you go to the RPA, you're creating the terms for the escrow instructions. Are there any credits? All of those things, right? So the RPA is your guide, and that's why I was kind of tongue in cheek, but we're serious. When you ask us questions about your deals, the first response is always going to be, what does the contract say? Okay, you guys are doing your one deal, but remember your management team, you know, we're dealing with 120 agents or whatever the roster is today, right? With all of them having questions. So we don't necessarily know the specifics of every deal. That's why we say, what does your contract say? All right, so when I said, make sure you include the agency part, it's important because the first thing you're going to do when you submit your contract, the RPA, any counter offers, any addenda that you have, anything that are the decisions going back and forth that were agreed to by all parties and signed off on needs to be submitted to escrow. All right, so I've taken the legendary escrow take sheet and included it in the package for you. This contains valuable information for your escrow officer so that they're prepared to help all parties in the transaction. Namely, so the escrow officer information, the closing date. That's super important. Remember, and I can't stress this enough. This is a contract, okay? Contracts have timeframes, contracts have benchmarks, and they have to be met throughout the process. So please.
Just remember, you've got the offer, counter, whatever it is, acceptance. Acceptance is day 0. Many times I hear, well, it's 30 days after acceptance. Okay, when is that day? I don't know. You must know. You must know that, and that's Dwayne's point.
Yeah.
So acceptance date, I don't care what time of day it is. It's day 0. The following day is day 1, and that's how you start calculating your days. So be mindful, especially if they fall on a weekend. When is closing? If it falls on a Saturday, when does closing actually occur? Monday, right? So that, be mindful of that, so your clients aren't packing the moving van on Friday thinking they get to take possession then. All right.
Exactly, excellent point. So it has the seller's information. And so always remember who you represent in the transaction. So if you're the buyer's agent, you're most likely not going to have the seller's information other than their name. That's okay. You'll just instruct the escrow officer that you represent the buyer and that the listing agent's contact information will be here so they can supply the seller's information. If you represent the buyer, you put in all of the information. I see so many times the name. All right, but the escrow officer, and please remember, the escrow officer is processing not just your transaction. They've got probably 50, 60 at a time that they're working on, right? So the more information you provide to them, the more efficient the process will be, and that's really what we're striving for, right? So a name of the client is not sufficient. It has to be their name, their phone number, and their email address. Why their email address?
Can you mute yourself on whoever's on Zoom that's not muted, please?
Why
the dog barking?
Why would I include my client's email address to the escrow officer?
So that they can send them down.
Digital signatures. Remember, our digital signatures are associated with email addresses. So when you're consulting with your client, be it buyer or seller, make sure you, as part of selling the experience.
It's open.
Oh, hang on. I need somebody to mute themselves. Whoever is not muted. And I don't know who that might be. Okay. There we go. Got her.
Okay, so the email address is specific to the digital signature. So when you're selling the process through to the client, you need to explain to them the email that you give me is the email that you're going to receive digital signature documents from. We all probably have 4 or 5 email addresses. So it's important that you understand from your client which one is the one you want to receive these documents from, both the real estate transaction and from the escrow. Okay, so that's super important. All right, listing office and fill out the information completely. I know it's like, oh, I got to do all of this. It's important. You do have to do all of this because this is the information that all the parties need to communicate with each other. And you're going to hear that from me throughout this workshop, is the communication is paramount. You must have good communication.
Just remember, the escrow officer has no idea about you and your client or
Right.
your transaction. So if I were to look at you and say, hey, I just opened escrow, can you send my client some stuff? You'll say, who's your client? What's their contact information, right? You have to explain to them, where do they go? So you're the orchestra leader. I say this over and over and over. Whose responsibility is it to make sure things are done on time?
You.
You own it. You take responsibility. I don't ever want to hear, well, it's escrow's fault. What's the other agent's fault? It's this person's fault. No, it's your fault for not following up.
Oh, imagine accountability.
You need to stay on top of your transaction, calendar those dates. If those other players, if you have a good team, they're going to fall into place, but it's you and your responsibility to follow up with everything.
Preach. Okay. So that information is so very, very important. The more efficient you do this, the more efficient your transaction is going to be. It's garbage in, garbage out. If you aren't really communicative, if you're not giving full information, you're going to have stress and frustration all along the way, as well as your clients. All right. And so listing office, selling office, all of the information, if there's a TC, and this is so important, not everybody uses a TC. So how's anyone going to know if you don't tell everybody, this is the TC, it's Diana Bernardi, and here's her information, right? Or Trish Reyes, or whoever it is, or whoever you're using, okay? The title company. How do I know who the title company is? Where do you find that information?
What does your contract say?
Okay, if there's a lender, okay? The lender's information, they're kind of important, aren't they, in the transaction? Kind of, they got the money, right?
Now, can we go back to escrow and title real quick? Please don't leave it blank, because there's no meeting of the minds. Understand this. And people say, well, I don't want to put anybody because I want my offer to be accepted. Fine, have a conversation with that other agent ahead of time. But if you leave that blank and it's signed, understand that's a technicality. There's no meeting of the minds. You have not agreed to an escrow or title. Even seller's choice is not a meeting of the minds per se. So try to fill that in, try to get those answered and complete. So when there's a dispute as to, well, I opened it up with it's a nice day escrow company in, down at the beach because someone wanted to spend the day down there, that's not licensed with the Department of, whatever it is called now, business oversight or corporations or whatever it is, and they run away with your client's money, you're going to be really surprised. So you need to know who that escrow company is. Are they licensed appropriately, and get them in the contract? So if there is a dispute, you can say, no, contractually, this is who we agreed to. Okay.
Exactly. Question.
So when I'm bringing a buyer to the table, is it common practice, because more often than not, you default to the seller choice? Yes or no on escrow and title?
So if you're asking me the question, I would respond to you and say, I believe in collaboration. So I'm representing the buyer, and I am actively right now representing the buyer. So when I'm making an offer, I call the listing agent. I say, hey, we're going to be submitting an offer. I know you've got 10. Who do you like for services? I have this conversation because I will share with you that's strategic, because when you've had a conversation with the other agent and you've actually met them face to face, or you're having phone conversations with them, not email, not text, you're creating a relationship that, all things being equal, they literally have 10 offers. Everything's pretty close. What's going to put it over the edge? I've been dealing with them. I know they're telling the seller, I know this person, they're thoughtful, they're efficient. I have a feeling that this agent is really professional and will successfully close the transaction, all things being equal. So I'm going to have that conversation with the listing agent. I'm going to find out what they want for services. In this current market, we can't really fight for services when we're the buyer's agent. We're throwing everything at them. Firstborn, you have my kidneys, what do you want? Okay. And so I believe
I already have 2 of those.
I believe in collaboration. At the end of the day, our clients want the house, the seller wants to sell the house. How do we get everybody together?
As a listing agent, that's another story.
No, different conversation.
Different conversation.
Yeah.
But as a buyer's agent, absolutely.
At the buyer's agent. Yeah, the listing agent, remember, in today's market, you're in total control. I still, as a listing agent, I sold a house, I had 15 offers. I still communicated with all the buyer's agents. Hey guys, here's the benchmark. We're significantly over asking. We've got a lot of cash. It's going to come down to terms, not necessarily price. Communicate effectively with everyone equally so that there's a level playing field, but communicate, collaboration. We're not enemies. We're not adversaries. Yeah. We might flag different banners, but we're all here doing the same thing. Okay. So if there's no lender, let them know it's cash. Okay. And then if there's an HOA, and this is another thing. Okay, so we've got time frames built into the RPA, right? Those HOA docs have to be ordered and provided to the client within a specific time frame. If you don't provide the HOA information, how in the world is your escrow officer going to know who's bringing the check? Is it the agent? Is the seller coming in? Are we paying for it with a credit card online? You got to know that going in. All right, so important. And then any other special information. This is available. You don't have to print this out. If you go into the VAC, you click on Legendary Escrow, this take sheet is there. And you PDF up all of your RPA related documents, and it goes straight into Legendary Escrow. If you're using Legendary Escrow, if it's another escrow company, this can all be done in an email. And I've seen that happen. What's really important also, and the most important thing, is the commission splits, because remember, they're going to give you the commission authorization that we all sign as the management team. So make sure that they know who's getting paid what. Okay, that's super important. All right, so that's the take sheet. That's the information, and a lot of the information came from here. So communicate what's here to your escrow officer. I also like to include my title rep, just so that they know what's coming. I've already ordered my prelim. I've already ordered my property profile. I've reviewed it, when we're writing the offer. So you can check off a lot of things. And here's what happens. It's also important for the escrow officer on other terms down here: solar leases, solar buyouts, any kind of lease liened items. And if you say, well, I didn't know, you should know, because that means that you didn't pull a prelim or you didn't pull a property profile. All of that's listed there. Okay, super important. And deals are falling apart over these little tiny things. All right. And then if you're the listing agent, it's important to know at the time of listing, you ask your seller, you see solar panels on the roof. Okay, that's a pretty good indicator that they have solar.
It's not, look up. It's okay to look up.
Don't look up.
It's okay to look up. In this case, it's okay to look up.
But it's important. You have to understand, okay, now we all see that there's solar. How is the solar related to the seller? Do they own it? Are they paying on it over time with a loan that needs to be paid off at the close of escrow? Is it leased? And is that lease transferable? And so here's what happens a lot of times, especially with hero loans and PACE loans. Sellers agreed to all this stuff and they said, yeah, cool, great. And then they forgot about it. So when you're going on a listing appointment, you're asking all these questions, they're going to say, I don't know. They signed a contract, and there's a contract that exists somewhere. So get that information, provide it to your escrow officer. So important. All right, so when we represent the seller, here's a little checklist for your convenience. Okay, the escrow opening checklist when representing the seller, the listing agent. A legible, fully executed purchase agreement and counteroffers. A clearly notated date of acceptance. And I just want to clarify this point. Hi, come on in. Welcome.
Hi, Susie.
Okay, I just want to clarify. All right, so there are a couple of important date signifiers on the RPA. There is the date prepared, and so when you're referencing, for example, request for repairs or other documents, it's going to say date of contract. This is the date you use. It's the date prepared. Okay, and then the acceptance date could be 2, 3, 4, 5 days different. That's okay. This is the contract date that you're referencing. So it's easy to get those confused. So make sure you're clear. Date prepared is the reference date, and then the acceptance date, as Gina mentioned, is day 0. That's where you start the clock. All right. So that date of acceptance, commission percentages, listing and selling agents, so important. All right, the title company choice, what the purchase agreement says, the homeowners association information, HOA fees. Please attach the proper contact information for all parties. Please attach and include the preliminary report from title. Oh gosh, I think I said that before, didn't I? Verify that the home warranty portion of the purchase agreement stipulates all coverage options being handled through escrow, as well as a maximum cost to be paid. Well, where do I get that information? The home warranty company. Right? So when you're writing out the offer, it's important that you know it's a 3,000 square foot home with a pool and a spa, and you put a home warranty not to exceed $500. We may have an issue, right? Someone's going to be paying the difference, and I guess I know who that's going to be. It's not going to be either Gina or Ryan.
Raise your hand.
All right. Please attach and include the delivery information for all parties. Okay. Paperwork will typically be emailed unless otherwise instructed. It's also important when you're looking at the new RPA, the defaults are wire, and you'll need to verify with whatever escrow company you're working with. Some of them no longer take any kind of checks. All right, they're only accepting wires. And so I hear pushback all the time. Well, my client doesn't want to do that. They don't feel it's safe. Well, if the escrow company is not going to accept any form of a check, cashiers or otherwise, we've got to figure out some way to get that money to escrow for earnest money and, I don't know, the closing.
You need to explain to them the procedure to make it safe.
Yeah.
Yes, I'd be scared too if I had somebody tell me, I need you to wire money over here. You're gonna get some instructions. I'd be asking questions because it's dangerous out there. So you need to let them know. Here is, you're going to give them the escrow company name, officer name, and telephone number. When they get the wiring instructions, they're gonna go to their bank from the number they gave you, not off of an email, from the number you gave to them. They know it's the correct number. They're gonna call the escrow officer. I'm at the bank. I just want to confirm that this is the correct account number, right? The escrow officer will say, yes, it is. They get these calls all the time. They expect them. That's what the wire fraud advisory is all about, right? So they're going to confirm, they're going to tell the bank person, and the bank person is going to get it wired for you, and it's safe and done. But there's steps we take, precautionary steps. So when you have a client throw that objection out there and say, no, I don't know how to do that. I don't want to do that. Well, that's the way we do business today. And let me tell you how we're going to safeguard your money. And then you explain to them what you do. Okay.
Yep, exactly right. Okay, as the listing agent, it's also important for everybody to know, are there any recent deaths of one of the sellers? Because if that's, I mean, if there's a death, is there a trust, or how is this, who's being, the signatory for the transaction? If there's a divorce, and this is super important because I purchased while I was in the process of getting a divorce, the person that you're married to has to sign away their homestead rights in California. So you've got to have at least a good enough relationship with the other party for them to sign documents in a timely manner. Okay. How the proceeds are to be split at the close of escrow if there's more than one seller. Is the seller using a power of attorney? And remember, this documentation has to be supplied to escrow. So if it's a trust, don't be shy about asking for the proof. I need the trust cert. I got to provide that to escrow. You need to know at a time of listing to make sure you're dealing with the person who's authorized to sign contracts, right? So there's no shame and there's nothing top secret about asking for the trust cert. If there's a power of attorney, make sure that you understand with title and escrow. Before you even get into escrow, hey, I'm being told that there's a power of attorney for this sale. Here's the proof. Will you accept that? Not every. Go ahead.
No, so just remember, the trust, many clients will say, well, that's private. I'm not going to give you that information. Trust certification is not private.
Right.
The trust certification is just a document certifying that this person or persons are the trustees, this or those people are the successor trustees. That's all it says. Yeah. And it's signed, and that way you have a certification saying these are the legal signers of the document. Now, depending on what's going on, title may ask for a copy of the trust to verify that these people are acting appropriately. And if that's the case, the sellers will have to provide that trust to title, right?
Absolutely.
But it's not, they don't have to give you the trust up front. We just need a certification so we can see who the legal signers are.
Yeah, reading other people is another workshop, but if someone if someone's sending you some signals and they're not fully cooperating, that's a red flag. Yeah. Okay, there's something else going on. Maybe mama's not dead yet. And no, I mean,
well,
that's
it's
the
happened.
truth.
It's happened.
It's the truth, right? So there's a person who wants to sell their parents' house, the parents in assisted living, and they're saying I'm the beneficiary trustee. That's why there's a reason that they're not willing to share with you a non-private document. So that's a red flag. Do your due diligence as the listing agent. All right. If there's a 1031 involved, make sure that the escrow company knows. So what we're dealing with right now, it is a domino out there. Buyer needs to sell this house to buy this house, and this seller needs to sell this house to buy. It's going, and it's across the nation. Like we're dealing with people moving here or moving out of here, and it takes 4 or 5 transactions to make this one successful. So if your escrow needs to fund another escrow, either in California or some other state, make sure your escrow company is aware of that. Again, taking away that element of surprise and confusion, because that's going to cause delays and frustration for everybody. All right. If your client will be unable to sign documents during normal business hours, we have a lot of mechanisms that we can use. There's mobile notaries, there's international notaries now. There's a lot of things that can accommodate it, but we need advance notice. For example, I did a lot of business in Mexico. So when you're dealing in Mexico, a lot of the stuff has to be done through the consulate. Well, not every town has a consulate. And so you've got to have travel time built in there. And then Canada and Mexico are our biggest partners, right? So there's international boundaries, borders I'm gonna throw COVID in the mix, and it's gonna take some time.
Yeah,
All right.
I learned a lot there.
Yeah, we did. Translation services, will those be needed? Will your client be out of town at every time during the escrow? This happens a lot. Oh, the sellers went on a cruise and they don't
Yeah,
have.
So
and they don't
escrow
have-
and go on a cruise for 3 weeks, unreachable. We've had that.
Yeah, it happens, okay? And so it's just kind of important to communicate all the information. And here's why it's important. These are the things that we can possibly know. Guess what we can't possibly know when we represent the seller? And this just happened in my office recently. A seller died in the middle of escrow. All right, so then that's you can't expect that, right? So that that's something that you have to deal with. Fortunately, it was in a trust. The successor trustee was available and we were able to proceed. But we knew the information in advance. It's when you don't know, then it causes problems. All right.
Deb does not cancel a contract, just so you know.
Correct. That's why it's so important. All right, so the next scenario, let's flip the script and we're going to be representing the buyers now. All right, what do I do for escrow when I represent the buyer? Again, it's going to look a lot the same. Fully executed RPA, clearly noted date of acceptance, commission percentages, title company of choice, proper contact information for all parties, including transaction coordinators, preliminary report, looks at all the same. Buyer's loan and lender information. So when you're the buyer's agent, it's going to be important for the escrow officer to know that, or if it's cash. How the good faith deposit will be delivered. And we just had that conversation about the wire conversation. Verify that the home warranty portion of the purchase agreement stipulates all cover options. I'm just going to put a little side note in there. There's sometimes confusion during escrow about who does what. And just if you were to ask Dwayne, he's going to say whoever gets it done, right? I don't ever say that's not my job. And I don't really like to hear that. Two things I don't like to hear. No, shush, and it's not my job. Right? So it's what I like to do is have that conversation with the other agent, back to the conversation about collaboration. So typically, if I'm the buyer's agent, I want to order the home warranty since it's my buyer who's going to be receiving it. So I'll just ask the other agent, do you mind if I order the home warranty? Most times they're going to say, do whatever you want. They don't have to deal with it, right? So that just makes it easier. But just set the terms up front. Don't just assume things throughout the process. That's super important. Okay. But all delivery information for all parties. Please advise if your client is in the process of a divorce, power of attorney, all of these things are the same. If the funds are coming from another country, so this just happened in my office. We had a seller selling property in Berlin. All right, their bank is in London and they bought a $3 million house in Palm Springs and was cash. So the cash had to get from Germany, go through London, and then clear to the United States. Does that happen in 3 or 4 hours?
No.
The answer is a hard no. Okay, so you've got to build that time in for funding the escrow. All right, so understand what your client's situation is. Everyone's going to be a little different, and escrow needs to be made aware of it. And I think the other agent, as a courtesy, let them know what's happening. All right, funds are coming from another escrow or 1031. So converse to the seller situation, your buyer is going to be funding something else. Make sure that everybody knows. If your client's unable to sign documents during normal business hours, if they need translation services, if your client will be out of town at any time during the escrow. Okay, so that's all the stuff that you need to do to open the escrow. And that only took 4 hours. All right, so I did a courtesy, and I don't want, this is not typical, but I did it just,
Too early?
can we go to this one?
We can.
Did I not put it in?
I thought we did.
I thought I did too. Anything's possible, you know.
Oh, that's right. It was before this and we skipped it. Okay. It's on this page. Why isn't it showing
I
up?
don't know. Okay, well, in the email that you received, and some of you have handouts, it's called the life of a transaction. And I did a 30-day scenario. I got to share with you right now that's probably not going to be a 30-day escrow. Everyone's trying to do, 21 days, 10 days just to get the deals done. But just for demonstration purposes, we've done the life of a transaction. Okay, so mutual acceptance is on Sunday. Day 1 is Monday. Disclosures are sent. Day 2, the apply for the homeowner's hazard insurance. Earnest money deposit is due on day 3. Unless otherwise negotiated. Okay, remember, everything in real estate is negotiable as long as all parties what?
Agree.
Agree in writing.
This is what the contract defaults to.
Correct.
But sometimes my pet peeve is, oh yes, we're writing a all cash offer, close in 15 days. Great. How long is your contingency period? And I get this deer in the headlight look. 17 days.
Yeah.
Oh, good. So your contingencies are after it closes.
Right.
Pay attention. Look at the defaults. This is the defaulted time, but understand if there's shortened time periods or lengthened time periods for whatever reason, you need to adjust your calendar accordingly.
Amen. Amen. So again, it's whatever the contract says, but just make sure, and we're going to get to the transaction timeline Excel spreadsheet here shortly, which will help you, especially if you've got a lot going on or you're new. The goal of the timeline is to kind of help you calendar things. All right. So I didn't need to go through all 30 days, but just understand all the benchmarks that are in the purchase agreement are labeled out here for you so you can kind of pay attention. Your RPA is your guiding light. All right. And so however you calendar yourself, be it on your phone or if you're, like me, I have to etch things in stone. Just make sure you have them so that you know when the benchmarks are due. Okay. So let's go ahead and go to the transaction timeline slide. Okay, so for your convenience, this is done in an Excel spreadsheet with formulas in. So all you need to do is put in the property address, the agent name, which party you represent, and in some cases you may represent both, all right? And then the acceptance date, okay, and number of days to close escrow. What will happen is everything will auto-populate. You don't need to put in the dates. You don't need to think about it. We put the formulas in the Excel spreadsheet, all right?
Unless this isn't 17 days, maybe it's 5 days. Then you need to go in and say, appraisal contingency removal is to be done in 5 days or 10 days.
Right.
When you change that number, this number will automatically calculate stuff.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Just keep that in mind.
Yeah, exactly. And so if you, again, for the purposes of demonstration, we did a normal transaction. But if your purchase agreement is, and I've had one that's closing in 10 days, we did a, 1 day for the earnest money, we did a 5-day inspection contingency. Make sure you just, whatever this says goes here for the days due. You don't need to calculate the days the cell is formulated so that it'll automatically put the date that you put here. Okay, if it's other than that. Also, this, because I used to, when I would do this, I would provide the checklists from SkySlope, but really, you don't need that so much if you utilize this.
Where's this going? Okay. The timeline worksheet is being emailed out to everyone. This is a form that we have used in the past, so I will make sure it gets emailed out with a copy of this presentation.
Cool.
Okay.
Oh, no, not at
There
all.
we go.
Okay, so I don't do well in front of the TV. Okay, so the transaction timeline worksheet, you can kind of use in conjunction with your SkySlope checklist. All right, these are the most important documents. There may be other documents that you're including in the transaction that won't necessarily be on this list, but will be in SkySlope. As long as you have these are the base items that you're going to need. So if it's the seller provider disclosure, when escrow open, submit the HOA information, the MLS agent detail sheet, affiliated business, the transfer disclosure statement, the seller property questionnaire. It has all the timelines filled in there. You're the listing agent, make sure you go through this. And I don't know about you, but I'm a checker. So I'll just check. However you maintain yourself, that it works. Okay, the buyer contingency items, the verification of funds to close. I kept this in there, even though in most circumstances with the new RPA, pre-approvals and proof of funds are due at time of offer unless otherwise negotiated. I kept it there as a place marker so that you remember as the buyer's agent that you have to have that documentation. All right, now we do it with the offer unless otherwise stipulated. Any questions about verification of funds or loan approval? No? Okay. So any common interest disclosures, the appraisal contingency removal, all of these things are calendared in for you. So it makes it really easy for you to, however you calendar yourself, if you're using your phone or your computer or however you're doing it, it's an easy way to remind yourself. I actually, because I'm older, I print this out and I still do, as you can see, I still do printed out RPAs and I'll put this on top. So when I'm in escrow, then I'm going to, okay, today, That's just because I'm old. If you're younger, you might put them in a calendar and you'll get an alarm in your phone or your iPad or computer that tells you these things are due. It doesn't matter what system you use, as long as you use a system to keep yourself on track. Okay?
Folio is great too. Folio for
Oh,
Gmail.
he's a polio. I'm like, wow. We took a left turn, Gina.
Folio for Gmail is a great tool. I can't live without it. It's amazing. And I'll tell anybody who has a question about it, I'm happy to talk to you afterwards.
Yeah, and so my rule of thumb is, look, we're here to help you and be your business partner. We're, a lot of times people call us boss. We're not bosses. You're your boss. You're the CEO of your company. We're here to help you be as successful as you want to be, which is why we invest the time to do this kind of stuff, right? I actually did print out the transaction timelines from SkySlope. So if you're like me and I'm a list maker, right? And I need to check things off so I can sleep at night. So I always do this. I print these
Checklist.
I print the checklists out. And furthermore, I highlight the relevant things that I need because this is a complete checklist, but I don't use every document in every transaction. So I'll literally go through and based on what I have in the RPA, these are the things I know I'm going to need. And then I get them all out, get them all signed, cross them off my list and move on to the next deal. All right. So really that is, I've opened escrow, now what? Okay. We get through all of this, we get everything signed, we do our final verification and miraculously it closes and you get paid and you still have all your hair.
Most
Right?
of it. Most of it. It might be gray now, but you got most of it.
Any questions about, I've opened escrow, now what? Any questions that you might have that we didn't kind of touch on today? I think that
Let me,
pretty much covers it, Gina.
let me try to get out of here and stop my screen sharing for a minute so I can see all these lovely faces. Hello there. All right, any questions from the Zoom team? Any questions from here? Was that helpful?
Yes.
Yes.
Good, 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 good. All right, well, Dwayne, thank you. You're a rock star.
My
I
pleasure.
appreciate you.
Anytime, anytime.
Ryan, thank you so much for
Dwayne.
being here. Yeah, you've got a few hours. Go get another listing. Go, go, go. Okay, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Dwayne.
Gina.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye-bye.
You. Ellen, you're still not in jail?
All of the attachments in your email, I can't open it.
It's in a zip file, so if you download the zip file, you'll be able to go in and click on everything. Uh-huh. I never know which way to